Like seriously, every time Fox News goes on the air, all I hear is the ambulance. It's like, can we please call a ambulance for Sean Hannity about Biden blaming the oil companies for something that's actually their fault? Like, just yeah, uh, uh. Seriously, that's like all Fox News does. Like all day, constantly, is just whine about Democrats for shit that almost all of it. It's like completely partisan and there's like no fucking truth to most of it. I mean, I don't. Okay, the thing about criticism of the president and of Biden is that I welcome it. It's just that I'm getting tired of these bad faith arguments that are being launched by charlatans for nothing more than you know partisan reasons. I mean, it's been one litany of oh, you're gonna play the racism card, are you? Don't you know the Democrats are the party of the KKK? And it's like, okay, first of all, like my argument and my counter argument and rebuttal to this is not gonna be everybody else's. It's just gonna be this basically. The parties are not unchanging monoliths, and it's high past time that we stop acting like and responding as if the two party system that we've got is an unchanging monolith that is that is stuck to clinging to the perspective of the past and to perspectives that the party used to take in the past. It's high past time that we get beyond that. These are living, breathing institutions that are susceptible to outside pressure as long as outside pressure is willing to come and join the party. The winds of change they're not immune from them. And to that end, I mean, the Democrats are no longer the party of the fucking KKK. I'm sorry. I mean that this is the past of the party. It's embarrassing and shameful, but the fact that, like, we don't need to rehash history and leave a legacy behind, a legacy hanging over the party that no longer really represents the party's true position anymore. And the fact is that I'm tired of it. What I see is people that are engaged in motivated justifications for the Republican Party and for their hatred for the Democratic Party, but they're not attacking and criticizing it in a good faith kind of way. What we see endlessly are these bad faith critiques that are coming from people that will come in and pretend that what they're doing is just asking questions and trying to make you look unhinged for not wanting to, in spite of the fact that their questions are they've got like an absurd basis behind them. I mean, like, as an example, when did you stop beating your wife? you know like, it's not hard to do. A question with just a fundamentally absurd and insulting premise, and if the person doesn't want to answer it, in those set of circumstances, you start to try to be like, I don't know why you're so irritable about me asking questions. I'm just asking questions. Like, it's the jacking off shit we see take place all the fucking time. And Rational Wiki talks about it, and we see so often that Republican attacks and criticisms of the Democrats are never launched in good faith. They're always just, I need to win points for my team, and I'm fucking sick of it. Personally, like, I just, you know, it, I'm all for the spirit of criticism, because there's a huge part of me that feels like, people are not necessarily always aware of their own flaws and aware of the problems that they ultimately have themselves, and myself included. But when I see a lot of like destructive criticism and bad faith critiques taking place from people that don't really believe the positions or believe in the moral that they're preaching, it can, it starts to sort of make them look bad. And I see so much of this take place in the debate, in the field of debate that takes place between the Democrats and the Republicans on social media. I see that there are all these motivated partisans that will go out of their way to defend the Republican Party and critique the Democrats, but most of what it has to say is like in bad faith. And I mean, the KKK argument is one of the golden examples of it. It's like, I mean, I'm sure that they'll probably say that we've condemned him, and he's been condemned, obviously, by a lot of our leaders. But, the KKK as a force started to feel unwelcome in the Democratic Party, at some point. And if you look into the history of it, like David Duke, the grand wizard of the KKK, like literally ran as a Republican and was like an elected official, in Louisiana for a while, down there in the deep South. He literally had a career and has been like a career racist his whole life. And if you look into the history of David Duke, he's conned a lot of white people, into thinking that he's embodying their fight and everything. And then, he goes out and blows their money on craps games and casinos and shit. And I realize that I'm barking up the tree of somebody here that, a lot of people are going to come after me for, saying something, and because they think he's an honorable man. But David Duke is a piece of shit, and he took advantage of all of you, and you got conned. I mean, I know that's an embarrassing thing, and you wouldn't want to admit that somebody tricked you, but he tricked you. He tricked a lot of white people into handing over their hard-earned money, and then he went out, and betted on, craps, over there in Louisiana. I mean, he is literally one of the most cringe people that I can even imagine, and he literally managed to build remarkably enough a career out of being a professional racist. I mean, it's remarkable. This guy doesn't do anything fucking useful. He doesn't give the economy anything that it actually needs. He's a completely and entirely useless eater. And here we are, basically saying that he's an honorable man here on YouTube. I mean, if like tomorrow David Duke were to starve to death, like the economy would have like the impact would be like negligent. It would be like not negligent, but just like there would be almost no impact. Like there's just like minimal, like there's just nothing that this would actually do, and the impact would be almost nothing. It would just be like, oh hey, we've just cut a little bit of dead weight loose, and that's what David Duke is. He's dead weight, and he reminds me too much of Paul Elam, professional deadbeat dad. Jesus Christ. I mean, what are we doing? In making stupid people famous in this country? It's really sad. It's sick. We need to cut that shit out in a huge way. And when I hear Sean Hannity come up here and try to criticize Biden for trying to blame the oil companies, I'm just sitting there like, that's because Sean, rationally speaking, the oil companies are responsible. I know that I kind of come off animated in some of you know, my rants and everything, but I promise you that I'm not actually all that pissed off. I try to use, my thinking head and everything, and I try to actually be more of a thinker than a person that's just pissed off all the time, but Sean, I mean, and Fox News and the shit that they put out has always kind of it's gotten under my skin because a lot of it is just so like I'm one of those people that you can say something that just comes across as so stupid that it literally will offend me. So, you know, the Fox News, watching experience for somebody like me has been, things like having to see them, talk about how poor people, and the lowest income, ladder of people, they've got microwaves and refrigerators and all that stuff. And, I mean, like it's not a big fucking deal. I mean, the thing is that what I would say about this particular device, right? It's kind of like our computer in that if you once you buy a computer and take it out of the store, it's already losing value because the fact is that computers are speeding up so fast, like literally, so that computer parts never maintain value for very long. If you were thinking about like computer parts as an investment, you need to have your head examined. They're not, obviously. I mean, it's something that you buy for yourself because you want to use the computer or you need the computer for your business and everything. And it's a business expense, but it's not an asset, is what I'm trying to say. It's like it's just an expense. It's on the expense side of the equation in that sort of situation. And assets and expenses are different things. And so when Sean Hannity comes up there and he tries to say that like this is poor people having access to this is proof of the fact that the glories of capitalism, and that there's nothing, and the problem with the social safety net, demonizing and bashing the poor on that basis. And those people should stop complaining. They've got access to all this stuff. And it's like, what I think about that is that it's true to some extent that we live a life of privilege here in the United States. Like, I'm not one of those people that's trying to dispute it and be like, capitalism has never done me any favors. That's not how I feel about it. But I do look at these stories showing up on Fox News and cringe a little bit, because to me it's obvious economically, insight wise, that this comes down in price pretty rapidly. And yeah, I mean, the poor will eventually get their hands on it. But the house that I live in and housing prices, for instance, are a whole different ballpark. They don't necessarily tend to come down in price very often at all. And so, houses are difficult for people in that income bracket to actually get their hands on. And, we act like, what I'm trying to say is just that, like, Fox News is ignoring the obvious insight that all economic sectors are not equal. And, the poor do not have equal access to all of the sectors of, the actual economy. I mean, they can access some of these conveniences, but, isn't that just a baseline that people should be able to basically expect having access to? Like, it's pretty weird when people don't actually have a refrigerator and whatnot. I mean, it's uncomfortable too.